Merrill Lynch is where my path to burnout began, which is what we're diving into today. At that time, Merrill Lynch had really strict guidelines. We were due in by 6 in the morning because I was in San Diego on the West Coast, and we had to stay until 6 at night, Monday through Friday, and work Saturdays. But you know what? I didn't mind. Guys, this was such an electric time in our industry. This was the go, go, boom, boom.com time. Anybody remember that era? I'm the oldest one here. That's great. Oh, one. I got one Gen Xer in the house. The vibe in the office was electric. There was enthusiasm. There was excitement. There was laughter. And then one day, everything changed. The bubble popped. And that laughter, that excitement, that enthusiasm, it was replaced with this eerie silence. And the minute you walked into the office, you could feel the weight that these brokers were carrying. So now we're going to channel 2. I like to say it's not you, it's channel 2. Yes. This is where I used to be stuck all the time. This is when you're worried. This is when you're anxious. This is when you don't trust what's happening around you. And then channel 1 is the lowest of mental states possible. And this is us when we're completely powerless and defeated. And so I ask you to think about who you are on each of these channels. How often do we study ourselves? How often? Not very often, right? We're often having to study for different tests, different exams, CE, all the things, but not ourselves. And that's why the first practice of the Alive method is a foundational practice, and it's the practice of awareness. Nothing can change without us changing our level of awareness, okay? So if you're here and you want to tap into your potential and get over here, you have to increase your current level of awareness. This is where I was stuck for most of my life. As much as I was fascinated with human development, human behavior, I was also a sales professional that was on 100% commission. So I always focused on external things. The dials, the appointments, my closing rate, my GDC, right? My net pay. That's what I was focused on, what I wore, how I looked, what I drove. I never once considered what was happening on the inside. And it took me losing everything for me to finally awaken to what was happening inside of me. I was stuck in the survival mode loop, actually. Survival mode, an inner response to an outer threat. Have you guys heard of fight or flight? Yes. And then they added fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Yes. It's when a part of our nervous system, the sympathetic wing, gets dysregulated. And it's supposed to help us. It's there when we have a real threat. We were never meant to live in survival mode. But so many of us do. I took a year sabbatical to just focus on my healing and researching to try to figure out, like, how did I get this so wrong? I was a top rep. I was always the one that wanted to do the right things. How did I end up here living with my parents at 41 years old? How did that happen? And it was during this time that I learned that I'm not alone. See, there was a study done years ago that looked at how many thoughts us humans have in any given day. And it was pretty shocking because they discovered that the average person has 50 to 75,000 thoughts per day. Can you believe that? 50 to 75,000. What's even more shocking is that 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts we had the day before, and the day before, and the day before. We literally think the same thing every single day. But here's what was most shocking. 85% of those thoughts for the average person are negative. What channel is that on? It's not you, it's channel 2. For so many of us, we hang out on the lower channels because we're stuck in survival mode. Why do you guys think that is? Anybody want to guess? Is it the environment? Is it our economy? Is it that it's an election year? Is it your boss? Is it mergers and acquisitions? Is it territory cuts? Yeah. Is it inflation? Is it your spouse? Is it your teenager? All the things that I used to think were causing me stress. But here's what I discovered. It is not any of those things that cause us stress and cause burnout. It is what we say to ourselves about the things. It's the story in our head about the economy, about the president, about our bank account, about our spouse. And that story began a long time ago. See, the biggest cause of stress is inaction. And so we have to practice execution, but not execution for the sake of execution. We have to practice execution with enthusiasm and great expectations. Huh? How often in your day are you executing with enthusiasm and great expectations? Anyone? Yes, right? But it's the energy behind the execution. We need to be on channel 5 when we go execute and expect great things to come.